The city never truly sleeps, but at 2 in the morning it pretends. Rain streaks down the floor-to-ceiling windows of a minimalist office, and behind a sleek desk sits a man who looks like he belongs there, not because of expensive clothes or flashy jewelry. No, there's something quieter about him, something earned. This is Michael Chun, 32 years old. If you passed him on the street, you wouldn't think billionaire. You'd think thoughtful, maybe even ordinary. And that's exactly how he prefers it. He's reviewing quarterly reports when his phone vibrates. A message from someone he hasn't thought about in years. The preview makes him pause. Hey, loser, remember us? Michael stares at the screen. 5 years. 5 years since he walked away from that life. From those people, from the version of himself they try to carve into stone. He swipes open the message. It's an invitation. But calling it an invitation feels generous. Westbrook High Class of 2018 reunion. Come show us what you've made of yourself. If anything, there's a photo attached. His old classmates gather at some upscale bar, holding champagne glasses like trophies. In the center stands Derek Preston, the golden boy who made Michael's high school years a living nightmare. Derek's smile hasn't changed. It's the smile of someone who's never been told no, never been made to feel small, never had to rebuild himself in the shards of someone else's cruelty. The caption beneath the photo reads, "Can't wait to see how our favorite punching bag turned out. This is going to be hilarious." Michael should delete it. He knows he should. But his thumb hovers over the screen, frozen between two versions of himself. The boy who would have cried reading this, and the man who's learned that some wounds never fully heal. They just teach you where your strength lives. He sets the phone down and looks out at the rain-soaked city. Somewhere in his mind, a door he locked years ago creaks open. The memories come whether he wants them or not. He's 17 again, walking into the cafeteria with a tray of food he can barely afford. His clothes are clean but worn, stitched in places where the fabric gave up before he did. His mother works 3 jobs. His father left when Michael was 8, leaving behind nothing but debt and the kind of silence that screams. Derek sees him first. He always does. Hey everyone, poverty just walked in. The laughter starts like a match strike, small then spreading. Michael keeps his head down, searching for an empty table, but Derek isn't finished. He never is when there's an audience. Dude, are those the same shoes from freshman year? Were those held together with hope? More laughter, the kind that sticks to your skin like tar. Michael finds a corner table, sits down, tries to disappear into his food. But Derek's girlfriend, Jessica Lynn, decides to join the show. She was homecoming queen, prom queen, the kind of girl who wore her beauty like armor because she knew it made her untouchable. She walks over with her tray and sits across from him. For a second, Michael thinks maybe she's different. Maybe she sees him. Hey, Michael, I have a question. He looks up. Her smile seems genuine. Do you ever feel embarrassed? Like, coming to school looking like that? Doesn't your mom care? The cafeteria erupts. Even the teachers pretend not to notice. And Michael, 17 and still believing the world might be fair, feels something inside him crack. But he doesn't cry. Not there. Not in front of them. He waits until he's home. In the tiny apartment where water stains map the ceiling, and his mother's exhausted breathing echoes from the next room. Only then does he let himself break. Only then does he make a promise to the boy in the mirror. This will not be my story forever. Michael blinks. He's back in his office, 15 years older, immeasurably different. The rain continues its rhythm against the glass. His phone still glows with that mocking invitation. He picks it up again, reads it one more time. Then he does something that surprises even himself. He types, "I'll be there." 3 words. No explanation. No emotion. He hits send before he can reconsider. Within seconds, his phone explodes with responses. The group chat, he didn't know he was still in lights up like a fireworks display. Derek, no way. He actually responded. Jessica, this is going to be so good. Marcus Webb, Derek's best friend and second in command of the Cruelty Brigade. Guys, what if he actually made something of himself? Should we be worried? Derek. Marcus, the dude wore the same jacket for 2 years. Relax. Some people are born losers. They die losers. It's just nature. Michael watches the messages scroll past, each one a small window into who these people still are. They've aged, certainly. They have jobs now, responsibilities, maybe even families. But underneath the years, they're still the same people who found joy in someone else's pain. He could tell them right now. Could send a single photo of his office, his car, his portfolio summary. Could watch their smug certainty dissolve in real time. But that's not why he's going. He's going because there's a difference between proving yourself to people who never believed in you and proving to yourself that their belief never mattered. He's going to close a chapter, to look at the people who try to define him and show them, quietly and completely, that they failed. He's going because the boy who cried in that apartment made a promise, and the man sitting in this office keeps his promises. Michael stands, stretches, and looks at his reflection in the rain-dark window. He sees both versions of himself superimposed. The broken boy and the self-made man. Both real, both part of the journey. "Let's finish this," he whispers to the glass. "The reunion is in 3 days. Before you scroll past, let me ask you something. It takes hours to research, write, and edit stories like this. Stories about justice, transformation, and the power of resilience. If you believe that our past doesn't define our future, hit that subscribe button. It's free. Only those who think failure is permanent would scroll past. But you're not one of them, are you? Now, here's a question for you. If someone who mocked you in school invited you to a reunion just to humiliate you again, would you go? Would you face your bullies head-on, or would you let the past stay buried? Drop your answer in the comments. The Grand Meridian Hotel stands like a monument to excess in the heart of downtown. Crystal chandeliers cascade from vaulted ceilings, and the marble floors shine so perfectly they could double as mirrors. This is where Westbrook High's class of 2018 decided to hold their 5-year reunion, because nothing says we made it quite like overpriced venue rental and an open bar. Michael arrives at 7:30, precisely 30 minutes after the official start time. Not early enough to seem eager, not late enough to make an entrance. He's learned that real power doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It simply exists, quiet and undeniable. He's wearing a simple black suit, Tom Ford custom-tailored, but understated enough that only someone who knows quality would notice. His watch is a vintage Patek Philippe, inherited from a mentor who taught him that wealth whispers while insecurity shouts. His shoes are Italian leather, broken in just enough to look comfortable rather than new. He looks successful, certainly, but not in the loud, desperate way that screams nouveau riche. He looks like someone who's been successful long enough to stop caring what people think about it. The ballroom doors are open, and music spills out into the hallway. Something upbeat and generic. The kind of playlist designed to make people feel nostalgic, without actually making them remember anything specific. Michael pauses at the threshold, takes a breath, and steps inside. The effect is immediate. Conversations don't stop exactly, but they pause. Heads turn, eyes narrow in recognition, followed quickly by confusion, because the Michael Chun they remember doesn't match the man standing in the doorway. The Michael they remember was skinny, hunched, trying to take up as little space as possible. This Michael stands straight, shoulders back, comfortable in his own skin in a way that only comes from years of hard-won confidence. Is that? No, it can't be. Holy shit, that's Michael Chun. What happened to him? The whispers spread like ripples in a pond. Michael walks further into the room, scanning the crowd with a calm assessment of someone who's learned to read a room the way others read books. There's Derek, holding court near the bar. He's gained weight, the kind that comes from too many client dinners and not enough discipline. His suit is expensive but doesn't quite fit right, pulling at the shoulders and gaping at the waist. He's laughing too loud at his own joke, and the people around him are laughing because they learned years ago that Derek's favors currency in their small social economy. Jessica stands next to him, one hand possessively on his arm. They got married, apparently. Michael had heard through the gossip vine, though he'd long since stopped caring enough to follow their lives. She's still beautiful, but there's something brittle about her now. The armor of her beauty has a few dents, and she's working hard to hide them under layers of makeup and forced smiles. Marcus Webb is there too, along with Sarah Chun, no relation to Michael despite sharing a last name. Sarah was the quiet follower, the one who never initiated the cruelty, but never stopped it either. She's talking to Amy Rodriguez, who at least had the decency to look uncomfortable during the worst of the bullying, even if she never spoke up. And then there's Kevin Park, the only person in this room Michael might actually be happy to see. Kevin was the other outcast, the other target. They formed an unspoken alliance of survival, sitting together at lunch, partnering on projects, existing in the margins while everyone else basked in center. Kevin spots Michael first, and his face lights up with genuine surprise and joy. He starts to make his way over, but Derek's voice cuts through the room like a cleaver through bone. Well, look who actually showed up. The room doesn't go silent. It does something worse. It goes expectant. This is what they came for, whether they admit it or not. The hierarchy reestablished. The social order confirmed. The loser reminded of his place. Michael turned slowly, meeting Derek's gaze with the kind of calm that comes from knowing something your opponent doesn't. He doesn't speak immediately, just holds the eye contact long enough to make Derek shift his weight, just slightly. Derek, Michael says finally, his voice is level, pleasant even. You look well. It's a lie, and everyone in the room knows it. But it's the kind of lie that somehow cuts deeper than an insult. Derek's face flushes, and Michael sees Jessica's grip on his arm tighten. Yeah, man, I'm doing great. Senior VP at Henderson Corporation. Just bought a house in the Oaks. You know, living the dream. Derek gestures broadly, and Michael notices the flash of a Tag Heuer watch. Nice watch. Expensive. But Derek's wearing it like a billboard, begging to be noticed. That's impressive, Michael says, and he means it genuinely. Because context matters, and Derek's achievements are real, even if they're dwarfed by the wealth Michael has accumulated. What about you? Derek asks, and there's a predatory gleam in his eye. The trap is being set. What have you been up to? Still living in that apartment complex off Riverside. The crowd leans in. This is the moment they've been waiting for. The confirmation that Michael is still who they decided he was 15 years ago. I moved, Michael says simply. Where to? Michael considers the question. He could tell them he owns a penthouse overlooking the city. Could mention the second home in Aspen or the apartment in Manhattan. But that would be playing Derek's game, and Michael stopped playing other people's games years ago. Somewhere quieter, he says instead. It's not the answer Derek wants, and his frustration shows. Come on, man. Don't be shy. What do you do for work? Still helping your mom with her cleaning jobs. There it is. The cruelty wrapped in casual conversation. The knife hidden in a question mark. Michael's mother worked as a housekeeper to keep them fed and sheltered. She scrubbed toilets and mopped floors and emptied trash cans so her son could have school supplies and a chance at something better. It was honest work, hard work that kept him alive when his father's abandonment could have destroyed them. And Derek is using it as a punchline. Michael feels the old anger flicker, but it's distant now, like watching a storm inside a warm house. He's learned that anger only has power when you let it drive you. Controlled, channeled properly, it becomes fuel. Let loose, it burns your own hands first. My mother retired 3 years ago, Michael says, and his voice carries a weight that makes Derek's smile falter. She lives comfortably now. Very comfortably. Before Derek can respond, Kevin reaches Michael's side. Michael, man, it's so good to see you. He pulls Michael into a genuine hug, the kind that exists between people who survive something together. You look amazing. Seriously, what's your secret? Therapy, mostly, Michael says with a slight smile, and Kevin laughs. Same, man. Same. They step away from Derek's orbit, finding a quieter corner of the ballroom. Kevin fills him in on the last 5 years. He's a software developer now, working for a mid-sized tech company, married to a woman he met at a coding boot camp. His life is good, simple, happy. The kind of life that doesn't need validation from a high school reunion. Why'd you come? Kevin asks. I almost didn't. Ashley, my wife, she told me I was crazy for even considering it. I'm not sure, Michael admits. Maybe I needed to see if they'd changed. Or if I'd changed enough that it wouldn't matter if they hadn't. And Michael glances across the room. Derek is holding court again, retelling a story that involves lots of hand gestures and practiced pauses for laughter. Jessica is scanning the room with the alertness of someone who spent years monitoring threats to her social position. Marcus is checking his phone, probably reading texts from clients or creditors. Sarah and Amy are huddled together, occasionally glancing at Michael with something that might be curiosity or might be calculation. They haven't changed, Michael says. But I have. Before Kevin can respond, a woman approaches. It takes Michael a moment to place her. Rachel Morrison. She was student council president, debate team captain. The kind of achiever who peaked in high school and spent the rest of her life trying to recapture that glory. Michael Chun, she says, and there's genuine warmth in her voice. I heard you were here. I want to say hello and apologize, I guess. This catches Michael off guard. Apologize. I was never mean to you, but I was never nice either. I saw what Derek and the others did, and I just looked away. That's its own kind of cruelty, isn't it? I've thought about that a lot since graduation, about the people I could have helped, but didn't because it was easier to be quiet. Michael studies her face. The apology seems real, not performative. There's genuine regret in her eyes. I appreciate that, he says carefully. It takes courage to examine our past selves and not like what we see. Rachel nods. What are you doing now? For work, I mean. It's the question everyone keeps asking, the barometer by which they measure success and failure, winner and loser. Michael is tired of it already. I run a few companies, he says vaguely. Investments, mostly. It keeps me busy. That's amazing. I'm an attorney at Morrison & Wade. Family law, mostly. It's fulfilling work, but God, the hours. I barely sleep. They chat for a few more minutes, and Michael finds himself relaxing slightly. Not everyone here is Derek. Not everyone came to resurrect old hierarchies. But then the moment shatters. A microphone screeches feedback, and Derek's voice booms through the speakers. All right, everyone. If I could have your attention. It's time for the moment you've all been waiting for. The superlatives. Groans and cheers mix in equal measure. Michael's stomach tightens. We're going to do a little throwback. Derek continues. Give out some awards for how everyone's doing 5 years later. You know, most successful, best glow up, that kind of thing. Marcus appears beside Derek with a laptop, and Jessica pulls up projection screen. This was planned, coordinated. Michael realizes with cold certainty that he's not just an attendee at this reunion. He's part of the entertainment. But first, Derek says, his smile sharpening to a point, let's talk about expectations versus reality. Michael Chun, buddy, come on up here. The room goes quiet. Kevin grabs Michael's arm. You don't have to do this. Michael looks at Derek, at the microphone, at the crowd of people who still see him as the boy they decided he was. And he makes a choice. He walks toward the stage. Every step feels like a decision. Every step closes the distance between who he was and who he's become. The crowd parts for him, and he can feel their eyes, their curiosity, their hunger for spectacle. He takes the stage, and Derek hands him a microphone. So, Michael, Derek says, all false friendliness and barely concealed malice. 5 years out of high school. Tell us, how's life treating you? Michael holds the microphone, looks out the crowd, and takes a breath. This is where the story changes. This is where the boy who promised himself a different life shows him exactly what that promise became. But not yet. Not all at once. Life's been interesting, Michael says into the microphone, full of surprises. Interesting how? Derek presses. Come on, give us details. What do you do? Where do you live? We're all dying to know. Michael smiles. It's a small smile, barely visible, but it's there. I'm sure you are, he says. And with those 4 words, delivered with perfect calm and complete control, Michael lets them know that this game has new rules now. Rules they don't even know they're playing by yet. The ballroom holds its breath. Michael stands on stage, microphone in hand, looking entirely too comfortable for someone who's supposed to be the evening's entertainment. Derek's smile starts to crack at the edges. Come on, Michael. Don't be modest. Derek's voice carries that familiar edge, the one that used to make Michael's stomach turn in high school. We all remember you. The guy who brought lunch in plastic grocery bags. The one who couldn't afford yearbook photos. Surely you can share what you've been up to. The crowd shifts. Some people look uncomfortable now, realizing this isn't good-natured ribbing. It's something uglier. But others lean in, eager for spectacle, their phones already out and recording. Michael looks at Derek for a long moment. Then he does something unexpected. He laughs. Not a nervous laugh. Not a bitter one. A genuine laugh. The kind that comes from finding something truly amusing. You really haven't changed at all, have you, Derek? Michael says it kindly, almost with affection, which somehow makes it cut deeper. Still measuring people by their lowest moments instead of their potential. Derek's face flushes. I'm just trying to have a conversation, man. No need to get defensive. I'm not defensive. Michael's voice remains level, conversational. I'm just observing. You brought me up here to embarrass me, right? To prove that I'm still the same kid you used to mock. That's why you organized this whole thing. The room goes very quiet. Derek opens his mouth, closes it, tries to find his footing. That's not. I mean, we're all friends here. Are we? Michael asks. The question hangs in the air like smoke. Because friends don't usually invite each other to events just to humiliate them. At least, that's not what I've learned friendship means in years since high school. Jessica steps toward the stage, her heels clicking sharply against the marble. Michael, I think you're misunderstanding the tone here. We're all just having fun, reminiscing about old times. Michael turns his attention to her. Jessica, I remember old times. Do you want me to reminisce? Should I talk about the time you and your friends poured milk in my backpack? Or the time you started a rumor that I had lice so no one would sit near me for a month? Or maybe the time you asked me to prom as a joke and then laughed in my face when I said yes? Jessica's perfect composure fractures. Several people in the crowd gasp. Apparently, not everyone knew about that last one. That was, we were kids. Jessica stammers. People change. They do, Michael agrees. Some of them, anyway. He steps away from Derek, addressing the wider room now. Since everyone seems so curious about what I've been doing, let me paint you a picture. After graduation, I worked 3 jobs while attending community college. I slept 4 hours a night. I ate ramen and rice for 2 years straight. I watched my mother work herself to exhaustion because my father abandoned us, and people like you made sure I knew I was worthless. The room is completely silent now. Even Derek has stopped trying to interject. But here's what you didn't know. Here's what none of you saw, because you were too busy laughing. I was learning. Every insult taught me about cruelty and how to recognize it. Every humiliation taught me about dignity and how it comes from within, not from others' opinions. Every moment you spent trying to break me, I spent becoming unbreakable. Michael pauses, lets his words settle. So yes, Derek, life has been interesting. I've traveled to 40 countries. I've built businesses from nothing. I've employed hundreds of people and created opportunities for those who, like me, were told they'd never amount to anything. And the most interesting part? I did it all without needing to tear anyone else down to feel good about myself. The applause starts slowly. One person, then another. Kevin is clapping and Rachel, and several others who were never part of Derek's inner circle. Even Amy is clapping, though she looks like she might cry. Derek's face has gone from red to pale. He takes the microphone back, trying to regain control. That's great, man. Really, I'm happy for you. But let's be real. Working 3 jobs, community college, that's admirable hustle. But we're all doing pretty well, too. I mean, success is relative, right? It absolutely is, Michael agrees, stepping off the stage. Tell me about your success, Derek. How's Henderson Corp treating you? Derek brightens, clearly relieved to be on familiar ground. It's fantastic. I'm Senior VP of Sales. Youngest person to make VP in company history. I brought in $3 million in revenue last quarter alone. That's impressive, Michael says, and he sounds genuine. $3 million in sales. That's real money. What's your commission on that? Commission? Derek looks thrown by the question. I mean, I get a base salary plus bonuses. It's complicated. Ballpark. Maybe $200,000 a year, give or take. Michael nods thoughtfully. And the house and the oaks you mentioned, what did that run you? $800,000. Derek says it proudly, like it's a flex. For most people, it would be mortgage. Derek's eyes narrow. What is this, an interrogation? Just curious about your success, Michael says mildly. You were curious about mine. Yes, I have a mortgage. Most people do. It's called building equity. Absolutely. Smart move. Michael turns to Marcus. What about you, Marcus? I heard you went into finance. Marcus looks uncomfortable being put on the spot. Yeah, I'm at Caldwell Investments. Portfolio manager. Good firm. Michael says. Managing how much? About $50 million in client assets. Nice. What's your personal portfolio worth? If you don't mind me asking. Marcus shifts his weight. I mean, I don't usually talk about personal finances at parties. Of course not. I apologize. Michael's tone is so sincere it's impossible to argue with. I'm just trying to understand what everyone means by success. Because the word means different things to different people, doesn't it? He moves through the room like he's working a networking event, asking polite questions, getting people to reveal more than they intended. Sarah admits she's between jobs. Amy shares that she's struggling with student loan debt. Even Jessica, when pressed gently, reveals that she's not working at all, depending entirely on Derek's income while maintaining a lifestyle that strains even his comfortable salary. Each revelation shifts the room's energy. The people who came here feeling successful start to feel exposed. The ones who came here feeling inadequate start to sit up straighter. Kevin watches this all unfold with barely concealed amazement. He sidles up to Michael during a lull in the conversation. What are you doing? Kevin whispers. Showing them what they actually have. Michael whispers back. Before I show them what they don't. Which is perspective. A woman Michael barely remembers from school approaches. Linda Chun, another unrelated Chun. She was in theater, always kind but never close to anyone. She's been watching the whole exchange with interest. Michael, can I ask you something? Her voice is soft but carries. Of course. Are you happy? The question catches him off guard. It's not about money or success or validation. It's simple and sincere. Yes, he says after a moment. I am. It took a long time to get here, and the journey was brutal. But yes, I'm happy. That's what I thought, Linda says. You can tell. Happy people don't need to prove anything. They just exist, content in their own space. Unhappy people are always trying to convince you they've made it. She says this at normal volume, and Derek definitely hears it. His jaw clenches. I'm perfectly happy. Derek announces to no one in particular. Got a great job, beautiful wife, nice house, living the dream. If you have to say it out loud, it's usually not true, Linda observes, then walks away to refresh her drink. Jessica grabs Derek's arm. Can we talk? Privately? They step away. But Michael can see the tension in their body language. Jessica is gesturing sharply, and Derek keeps glancing back at Michael like he's watching a chess opponent he's just realized is better than him. Marcus approaches Michael, and there's something desperate in his eyes. Listen, man, I don't know what you're trying to prove here, but some of us are actually doing well. We worked hard. We earned what we have. I don't doubt that, Michael says. I never said you didn't work hard. I'm just wondering why my lack of success was so important to establish. Why did Derek need to bring me on stage? Why did you all need confirmation that I was still beneath you? Marcus doesn't have an answer for that. The bartender, a young guy who's been watching this drama unfold with fascination, catches Michael's eye. What are you drinking, sir? Just water, please. Smart. Staying sharp. The bartender leans inconspiratorially. For what it's worth, I'm enjoying watching you dismantle these people without saying anything mean. It's like watching a masterclass in dignity. Michael smiles. I'm not trying to dismantle anyone. I'm just refusing to play the role they assign me. Same thing, isn't it? Maybe it is. The evening progresses, and the dynamic of the room has shifted completely. People are gravitating toward Michael now, asking him questions, seeking his attention. Not because they know how successful he is. He hasn't revealed that yet, but because he's demonstrated something more important than wealth. He's shown strength without aggression, confidence without arrogance, success without the need to wave it in anyone's face. Derek watches this from across the room, nursing a whiskey that's mostly iced by now. Jessica is talking to other women, probably trying to do damage control. Marcus is on his phone, distracted. Rachel finds Michael again. You know what's funny? I think half the people here came tonight hoping to feel better about their lives by seeing you fail. But you're making them question what success even means. That's not my intention, Michael says honestly. I just got tired of other people's definitions controlling my self-worth. How did you do it? Go from where you were to where you are? And please don't say hard work. Everyone works hard. Michael considers the question. I stopped believing the story they told me about myself. That was a first step. The second was realizing that the people who try to make you feel small are usually drowning in their own insecurity. The third was understanding that revenge isn't about proving them wrong. It's about building something so solid that their opinions become irrelevant. Rachel nods slowly. I spent years chasing validation from my father. He's a judge, very successful, very demanding. I became a lawyer to impress him. I take cases I hate because they're prestigious. And I'm miserable, but I'm successful, so I keep telling myself it's worth it. Is it? No. She laughs. But there's no humor in it. No, it's not. Then why do you keep doing it? Because changing course feels like admitting I was wrong. And I've invested so much time in this path. Michael looks at her carefully. You know what I learned? Sunk cost is just another prison. The time you've already spent doesn't obligate you to spend more time being unhappy. Every day is a chance to choose differently. Before Rachel can respond, the lights dim. Derek is back at the microphone, and his smile has an edge of desperation. All right, everyone. Time for the superlatives I mentioned earlier. We got some good ones. Most successful, most changed, best glow-up, and my personal favorite, most delusional. Some people laugh. Others look uncomfortable. Now, most successful is interesting because we've had some unexpected developments tonight. Derek looks directly at Michael. We've got people who claim to have traveled to 40 countries and built multiple businesses. Big talk. But success isn't just about what you say. It's about what you can prove. Michael remains still, watching. So I'm going to make this easy, Derek continues. Everyone who thinks they deserve the most successful award, come up here. Tell us what you do, what you make, what you've achieved. Let's see who's really winning at life. It's a trap, and it's obvious. Derek wants Michael to either back down or make claims he can't verify. Either way, Derek gets to reclaim his position as the alpha of this pack. Several people walk toward the stage. Marcus goes up, talks about his portfolio management, his comfortable six-figure income. Sarah's ex-boyfriend, Tom, talks about his dental practice. Jessica, surprisingly, talks about her charity work, though it's clear she's trying to use Derek's success as her own by association. Then Derek looks at Michael. What about you? You had a lot to say earlier. Want to back it up with numbers? The room watches. This is a moment everyone's been waiting for, whether they admit it or not. The moment where Michael either reveals something real or gets exposed is all talk. Michael walks slowly to the stage. He takes the microphone, and he makes a decision. Okay, he says simply, let's talk numbers. Derek grins, sensing victory. I graduated community college at 20, Michael begins. I worked at a restaurant, a warehouse, and drove for a rideshare service. I saved every penny I didn't need for rent and food. In 2 years, I saved $15,000. Derek's grin widens. $15,000 isn't nothing, but it's not impressive either. I used that $15,000 to start a dropshipping business. It failed. Lost everything in 6 months. So I went back to the warehouse, saved another $12,000. This time I invested in cryptocurrency, early before most people knew what Bitcoin was. The room leans in. Cryptocurrency has made millionaires and bankrupted people in equal measure. I turned $12,000 into $80,000 in a year, Michael continues. Then I used that money to buy a rental property in a neighborhood everyone said was going nowhere. Fixed it up myself. Rented it out. Used the equity to buy another property. Then another. Derek's smile is fading. After 3 years, I had 6 properties generating positive cash flow. I sold 4 of them at the peak of the market. Walked away with over $500,000 in profit. Used that to start a software company with 2 other developers. We built a platform for small businesses to manage inventory. Sold that company after 18 months for $8 million. The room is dead silent now. My share after taxes was about $4 million. I invested that in a portfolio of businesses. Some failed. Some succeeded. I learned from both. The ones that succeeded started generating serious returns. I reinvested, scaled up, brought in partners who knew more than I did. Michael pauses, looks at Derek directly. Want to know what I'm worth now? Derek doesn't answer. He looks like he's watching his entire worldview collapse in real time. My liquid assets, meaning cash and investments I could access within 30 days, are approximately $43 million. My total net worth, including businesses, real estate, and other holdings, is approximately $107 million. Someone drops a glass. The sound of it shattering is deafening in the silence. So yes, Derek, I have traveled to 40 countries. I have built multiple businesses. And I did it all without needing to remind myself I was successful by making other people feel like failures. Michael hands the microphone back to Derek, whose hand is shaking as he takes it. There's no way to verify that, Derek says weakly. You could be making this up. Michael pulls out his phone, opens his banking app, and shows the screen to Derek. Just Derek. No one else can see it. But they can all see Derek's face drain of color. Still think I'm making it up? Michael asks quietly. Derek can't speak. He just shakes his head slowly. Michael turns to address the room one more time. I didn't come here to brag. I didn't come here to make anyone feel bad. I came here because I needed to know if the opinions of people from my past still had power over me. And I'm happy to report that they don't. What you think of me, what you thought of me, what you'll think of me after tonight, none of it defines me anymore. I define me. He steps off the stage, walks back to Kevin, who looks like he's been hit with a 2x4. Dude, Kevin whispers, $100 million? Give or take, Michael says. It fluctuates with the market. And you're still wearing a watch I can't identify and driving a car you didn't brag about. Because it's not about the things, Kevin. It was never about the things. Before they can continue the conversation, someone starts clapping. It's Linda, the theater woman. Then Rachel joins. Then Amy. Then half the room is applauding. And the other half is standing in shocked silence, trying to process what they just heard. Derek is still on stage. microphone hanging limply in his hand. Jessica beside him looking like she's just realized she married the wrong person. And Michael, the class loser, the kid with the plastic bag lunches and the stitched-up clothes, the boy they try to break, stands in the center of the ballroom with his head held high and his heart finally free of their judgment. Pause for a second. Think about this. If someone humiliated you for years and you became wildly successful, would you reveal everything like Michael just did? Or would you keep your success a secret? There's no right answer, but I'm curious what you do. Drop a comment and let me know. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. Stories like this don't write themselves. The applause dies down, but the tension in the room has transformed into something electric. People cluster in small groups, whispering, their phones out, probably Googling Michael Chun to see if they can verify his claims. Derek remains frozen on stage, a statue of shattered ego. Jessica is the first to recover. She descends from the stage with forced grace, her smile tight and brittle. She approaches Michael with the kind of calculating expression that hasn't changed in high school, just grown more sophisticated. "Michael, that was quite a speech," she says, and her tone is all sugar and poison. "Though I have to say, if you really are worth that much, it's interesting that you'd still come to a high school reunion. Shouldn't you be on a yacht somewhere?" Michael recognizes the tactic. She's trying to undermine him with implications. Make his presence here seem pathetic rather than powerful. "I own a yacht," Michael says casually. "It's docked in Miami. I prefer it there. The water's nicer than here. But as I said, I came here for closure, not validation." Jessica's smile freezes. "Of course. Though it has seemed like you spent a lot of time talking about your money for someone who doesn't need validation." "You asked," Michael points out. "Derek specifically brought me on stage to talk about it. I was just answering the question. Still, the numbers seem exaggerated. 100 million? That's billionaire territory." "It's not actually," Michael corrects gently. 8 billion is 1,000 millions. I'm nowhere near that. And yes, the number sounds large, but wealth compounds. When you make smart investments and let them grow, numbers that seem impossible become inevitable." Marcus pushes through the crowd, and there's something wild in his eyes. "You said you invested in cryptocurrency early. When exactly?" 2015, Michael says. "Why?" "Because that's when I was telling all my clients to avoid crypto. I told them it was a scam. That would crash and burn." Marcus laughs, but it sounds unhinged. "Do you know how many clients I lost because they ignored my advice and made fortunes? Do you know how many times I've had to watch people get rich while I made my conservative 4% returns? You were being responsible." Michael says, "Risk management is important in finance. You couldn't have known." "But you knew," Marcus says bitterly. "The class loser knew, and I, the finance expert with a degree from a top university, didn't." "I didn't know," Michael corrects. "I gambled, and I got lucky. For every person who made money in crypto, 10 others lost everything. I could have easily been one of them." "But you weren't." Marcus's voice rises. "You're never the one who loses, are you? Even when we tried to destroy you in high school, you just came back stronger. It's not fair." The vulnerability in Marcus's confession is startling. Michael realizes something he hadn't fully understood before. These people aren't just arrogant, they're terrified. Terrified that their choices were wrong. That their definitions of success were too narrow. That the person they decided was beneath them might actually be above them. "Life isn't fair," Michael says quietly. "You taught me that. Every day. For 4 years, you and Derek and Jessica taught me that lesson. So I stopped expecting fairness and started making my own opportunities." Sarah pushes forward. She's been crying, mascara running down her cheeks. "I need to say something. I need to apologize. I was horrible to you, Michael. I laughed at you. I participated in the cruelty, and I never once stood up for you. And I did it because I was scared if I didn't join in, they'd turn on me next." "That's the truth," Michael says. "High school hierarchy runs on fear. Everyone's so terrified of losing their place that they'll sacrifice anyone to keep it." "I'm so sorry," Sarah sobs. "And the worst part is, I'm still doing it. I'm still so afraid of what people think that I'm living a life I hate. I'm between jobs because I keep quitting when things get hard, because I never learned how to persevere." "You learned that. You had to. But I never did, and now I'm 32 and I don't know how to be brave." Michael surprises himself by feeling genuine compassion for her. It's not too late to learn. "Yes, it is." Sarah says, "People like you, who overcome things, you're special. I'm not special. I'm just mediocre, and that's all I'll ever be." That's not true, Rachel interjects, moving to Sarah's side. You're not mediocre. You're just scared. There's a difference. Amy joins them, forming a small circle of women who are all, in different ways, grappling with the same question. What happens when a life you thought you were supposed to want doesn't make you happy? Derek finally moves from the stage. He's regained some composure, and there's a dangerous glint in his eye. He's wounded, and wounded animals are unpredictable. Okay, Derek says loudly, reclaiming the room's attention. That's all very impressive, Michael. Really. But let me ask you something. If you're so successful, so wealthy, so above all of us, why are you here? Seriously, why show up to a high school reunion where you knew you'd see people who treated you badly? It's a fair question, and the room goes quiet waiting for the answer. Because I wanted to see if I was still angry. Michael says honestly, I want to know if I'd healed or if I just buried the hurt. And I wanted to look the people who made me feel worthless in the eye and see if they still had that power. And Derek challenges, do we? Michael looks at him, really looks at him. He sees past bravado in the designer suit and the forced confidence. He sees a man who peaked in high school and has spent every day since trying to recreate that feeling of being on top. He sees someone trapped in his own story, unable to grow beyond it. No, Michael says simply, you don't. Derek's face twists. You think you're better than me? Than all of us? No, I think I'm different than I was. Whether that's better is not for me to judge. That's such bullshit, Derek explodes. You came here to rub your success in our faces, to make us feel like shit. You're enjoying this. I'm not, Michael says, and he realizes it's true. He's not enjoying watching people fall apart. He's not taking pleasure in their discomfort. If anything, he feels sad. Sad that 5 years later, they're all still fighting the same battles, still trapped in the same hierarchies, still measuring their worth by high school standards. Then prove it, Derek says. If you're really so above it all, so enlightened, then help us. You said you built businesses, made investments. Give us advice. Share your secrets. Be the bigger man you claim to be. It's a test, and Michael knows it. Derek is trying to see if Michael's humility is real or performative, but it's also an opportunity. Okay, Michael says, here's my advice. Stop measuring your worth by what other people have. Stop comparing your Chapter 3 to someone else's Chapter 20. Stop thinking that there's only one definition of success. That's generic fortune cookie crap. Marcus says, give us something real. Tell us how to make money, how to invest, how to build what you built. Michael sighs. You want the real answer? Most of you can't. Not because you're not smart enough or hard enough working, but because you're not willing to risk everything. I risked everything because I had nothing to lose. You all have comfortable lives, steady paychecks, mortgages, car payments, reputations. You're not going to risk that to start over. And that's okay. That's actually smart. But don't resent people who did take those risks and got lucky. So we're just supposed to accept being mediocre? Derek demands. You're not mediocre, Michael says, frustration creeping into his voice for the first time. Derek, you make $200,000 a year. That puts you in the top 5% of earners in this country. You have a beautiful home, a wife, health, stability. That's not mediocre. That's success. But you can't see it because you're too busy comparing yourself to people who have more. Easy for you to say when you're the one with more. Is it? Michael pulls out his phone again. Let me show you something else. This is my banking app. See these transactions? $20,000 to a homeless shelter. $50,000 to scholarship fund. $15,000 to a medical debt charity. $100,000 to a program that teaches financial literacy in underprivileged communities. I give away more than you make in a year, Derek. Not because I'm generous. Because I remember what it's like to have nothing. Because I know that money means survival for some people, not just status. He puts his phone away. So yes, I have more. But it doesn't make me better. It just means I have different responsibilities. And honestly, sometimes I miss the simplicity of when my biggest goal was just making rent. Kevin speaks up from behind Michael. That's not true. You'd never go back. Michael turns to him. No, I wouldn't. You're right. But I would like to stop feeling guilty about success. I'd like to stop feeling like I have to justify why I made it when others didn't. I'd like to just exist without everyone projecting their insecurities onto me. Then maybe don't come to high school reunions. Jessica says coldly. If you're so above it all, why subject yourself to us common folk? Because pretending the past didn't happen doesn't heal it. Michael says, Because I needed to confront the people who hurt me, not to hurt them back, but to forgive them, and to forgive myself for believing, even for a moment, that they were right about me. The room has gone completely quiet again. This level of honesty is more than anyone expected. It's uncomfortable and raw and real. Tom, the dentist, speaks up. Can I ask you something? And I mean this genuinely, not as an attack. Do you have friends? Like real friends? Because everything you describe sounds lonely. Building businesses, making investments, giving money away. But do you have people who know you? Not your net worth, but you? Michael considers the question. I have a few close friends. People I met after high school who never knew the old me. A mentor who believed in me when I was nobody. A therapist who helped me process the trauma. A woman I've been seeing for about a year who knows everything about my past and loves me anyway. So yes, I have people. Not many, but the ones I have are real. Does she know you're here tonight? Jessica asks, and there's something sharp in her voice. She does. She asked me if I was ready for this. If I'd really healed enough that facing you all wouldn't hurt. What did you tell her? I told her I'd find out. And Jessica presses. Has it hurt? Michael looks at her, at Derek, at all of them. Less than I thought it would. Because I realized something tonight. You all made me feel worthless because you needed someone to be beneath you. But that says everything about you and nothing about me. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just free. Derek makes a sound that's half laugh, half sob. Free. You're free. And I'm trapped. Trapped in a job I hate. A life I can't afford. A marriage that's falling apart because Jessica and I can't admit we're not happy. But hey, at least I'm not the class loser anymore, right? Jessica's head snaps toward him. Derek, don't. Why not? Derek's voice breaks. It's true. You want to leave me. I've known for months. You stay because of what people would think. Because divorce is failure. And we're the power couple, remember? We're the ones who made it. Derek, stop. Jessica hisses, but he's not listening. And the house I bragged about? We're 3 months behind on the mortgage. The car? Leased. The watch? Got it on credit. Everything is smoke and mirrors because I've been so terrified of being ordinary that I bankrupted us trying to look extraordinary. The confession hangs in the air like a detonated bomb. Jessica's face cycles through shock, fury, and finally resignation. You couldn't just let me have this, she says quietly. You couldn't let me maintain the illusion for one more night. What illusion? Derek demands. That we're happy? That we're successful? Michael just proved that everything we thought mattered doesn't. He won. He actually won. And we're standing here pretending we did too. Michael feels no triumph watching this dissolution. Just sadness. I didn't win, Michael says softly. There is no winning. There's just living, making choices, dealing with consequences. I made different choices than you did. They led to different results. But that doesn't mean your life is wrong or mine is right. It just means we took different paths. Your path led to $100 million, Marcus points out. Our paths led to debt and dead ends and middle management positions we pretend to be grateful for. My path also led to years of 16-hour days, failed businesses, panic attacks, loneliness, and constant fear that it would all collapse, Michael counters. Money solves some problems, but it creates others. And it definitely doesn't erase the past. Rachel steps forward. What are you saying? That we shouldn't want what you have. I'm saying wanting things is fine, but wanting them for the right reasons matters. Are you chasing success because it will make you happy? Or because you think it will make other people see you differently? Because if it's the latter, you'll never have enough. The goalpost keeps moving. Easy to say when you cross the finish line, Derek mutters. There is no finish line, Michael says. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I have more money than I'll ever spend, and I'm still figuring out who I am. I'm still dealing with insecurity. I still have moments where I hear your voices in my head, telling me I'm worthless. The difference is now I know those voices are lying, but it took years to learn that. Kevin puts a hand on Michael's shoulder. I think what he's trying to say is that healing is more valuable than money. And he's right. I make $60,000 a year. My apartment is small. My car is old. But I'm happy. Actually happy. Because I stopped trying to impress people I don't even like. Must be nice, Jessica says bitterly. Being able to afford happiness on $60,000 a year. Happiness doesn't have a price tag, Kevin says. That's the point. The evening has devolved into something raw and honest and uncomfortable. This isn't what anyone signed up for when they RSVP'd to a reunion. They wanted nostalgia and superficial catching up and confirmation that their choices were correct. Instead, they got truth. And truth, Michael has learned, is the most expensive thing you can give someone who's built their life on comfortable lies. What would you do in this situation? Would you feel bad for Derek and the others? Or would you think they deserve this wake-up call? Comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. Hit that button. Only those who don't believe in accountability and growth would scroll past this story. The ballroom has transformed into something resembling a therapy session gone public. Small clusters of former classmates huddle together, some crying, others arguing in hushed tones. The carefully constructed facades of success have crumbled, leaving behind the raw truth of ordinary lives lived under extraordinary pressure. Derek sits at a table near the bar, his head in his hands. Jessica stands 10 feet away, arms crossed, staring at him with an expression that vacillates between fury and desperation. The power couple has imploded in front of everyone they've spent 5 years trying to impress. Marcus is on his phone, presumably checking his own financial situation with new eyes. Sarah has stopped crying and is talking quietly with Amy and Rachel, the 3 women forming an unexpected alliance born from shared honesty. Tom and several others have gathered around Kevin, asking him about his life, his happiness, trying to understand how someone with so little by their standards can seem so content. And Michael stands in the center of it all, watching the chaos he's inadvertently created. He didn't come here to destroy anyone. But sometimes the truth is demolition work. Linda approaches him with 2 glasses of champagne. "You look like you need this." "I don't drink much," Michael says, but he takes the glass anyway. "Alcohol and trauma don't mix well for me." Smart. Linda sips her own champagne. "You know what you've done here, right? You've pulled back the curtain. Shown everyone that the wizard is just a man pulling levers. Some people are going to hate you for it. I know, but some are going to thank you. Maybe not tonight. Maybe not for years. But eventually, they'll realize you gave them permission to stop pretending. I didn't mean to." The best truths are usually accidental. Linda studies him with the practiced eye of someone who spent her life observing human nature for the stage. "You're not who I expected. When Derek was planning this reunion, he talked about you constantly. How funny it would be to see you. How he was sure you'd show up in the same worn-out clothes. How he couldn't wait to prove that people like you never change. People like me? Poor people. Broken people. People who were told they don't matter." Linda's voice is gentle but honest. Derek isn't cruel because he's evil. He's cruel because he's terrified. His father is a self-made millionaire who never let Derek forget that everything he has is borrowed, not earned. His older brother is a surgeon. His younger sister is a lawyer. Derek is the middle child who never quite measured up. So he spent high school making sure someone measured down from him. That doesn't excuse what he did. No, it doesn't, but it explains it. And explanations, I've found, are usually the first step toward forgiveness. Michael looks at Derek, slumped and broken. "I don't know if I can forgive him." "Then don't. But maybe you can understand him. And understanding is close enough to freedom." Before Michael can respond, Derek stands up. He's steadied himself, wiped his face, and there's a new determination in his posture. He walks toward Michael, and the room goes quiet again. Everyone senses that whatever happens next will define the entire evening. Derek stops 3 feet from Michael. For a long moment, they just look at each other. 2 men who were boys together, who lived through the same 4 years of high school, but experienced them as completely different realities. "I need to say something," Derek begins, and his voice is rough with emotion. "And I need everyone to hear it." He turns to address the room. "I was a bully. Not was. Am. I'm still a bully. I spend my days bullying my team at work, pushing them to hit numbers that make me look good. I bully my wife into maintaining a lifestyle we can't afford because I need people to think I'm successful. I bully myself every morning when I look in a mirror and see my father's disappointment staring back." Jessica makes a small sound, but Derek continues. "And I bullied Michael. For 4 years. I made his life hell. I did it because it felt good to have someone beneath me. Because at home, I was always a disappointment. But at school, I could be the king. And kings need peasants, right?" "Derek, don't do this," Jessica says, but there's no conviction in her voice. "I have to." Derek looks back at Michael. "When I sent you that invitation, I wanted you to come so I could prove to myself that I was right, that you were still the loser and I was still the winner. Because if you'd succeeded, if you become something, then it would mean that everything I believed about the world was wrong. It would mean that cruelty doesn't keep people down, that hierarchy isn't destiny, that I wasted 4 years of my life being a monster for no reason. You wasted more than 4 years, Michael says quietly. You wasted the 5 years after 2, building a life based on the same lies. Derek flinches but nods. You're right. I did. I married Jessica because she was beautiful and popular and made me look good. Not because I loved her. Not because we had anything real. Derek, stop. Jessica pleads, but her voice breaks. She married me for the same reasons. Derek continues. We're a matched set of insecure people who thought we could fool the world into thinking we mattered. And maybe we fooled some people. But we never fooled ourselves. He takes a shuddering breath. Michael, I'm not going to ask you to forgive me. I don't deserve that. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. Not because you turned out to be rich and successful, but because you were a human being who deserved basic decency, and I didn't give you that. I took a kid who was already struggling and made his struggle worse because it made me feel powerful. And that's unforgivable. The room is absolutely silent. This is a Derek Preston no one has ever seen before. Vulnerable, honest, broken open. Michael looks at him for a long time. He thinks about the 17-year-old boy who cried in a small apartment, who promised himself he'd never let anyone make him feel that way again. He thinks about the years of therapy, the nights of insomnia, the moments when he almost gave up because the weight of the past was too heavy. And he thinks about the man he's become, not in spite of Derek's cruelty, but in some strange way because of it. Because pain, when properly processed, can become power. Because trauma, when survived, can become transformation. I don't forgive you, Michael says finally, and the words land like stones. At least not yet. Forgiveness isn't a switch I can flip because you apologized. It's a process. It takes time. Maybe I'll get there, maybe I won't. Derek nods, accepting this. But I do release you, Michael continues. I release you from the power I gave you in my head, from the voice that sounded like yours every time I doubted myself, from the narrative that you wrote about who I was. I'm taking back my story. And in my story, you're not the villain anymore. You're just a hurt person who hurt people. And that's sad, but it's not my problem to fix. Thank you, Derek whispers. Don't thank me. Fix yourself. Get therapy. Be honest with your wife. Stop pretending wealth equals worth. Stop measuring your value by what you can take from others. And for God's sake, stop being the person your father made you feel like you had to be. Derek's face crumples. I don't know how. Figure out. You're a smart guy. You made senior VP. If you can sell products, you can sell yourself on the idea that you deserve better than this life you've built. Jessica moves toward Derek, and for the first time all night, Michael sees real emotion on her face. Not calculation, not performance, just raw, painful honesty. He's right, she says to Derek. We deserve better. Both of us. This isn't working. It hasn't been working for years. I know, Derek says. I'm so sorry, Jess. I'm sorry, too. I've been just as fake as you, just as cruel, just as lost. They stand together, not quite touching, but sharing the same space of admission and grief. It's not romantic. It's not hopeful. It's just real. Marcus steps forward. I need to say something, too. His voice shakes. Michael, I lost a client 2 years ago because I refused to make a risky investment. The client made an investment anyway, through another advisor, and turned $100,000 into $2 million. When he came back to rub it in my face, I told myself he got lucky, that I was the smart one for avoiding risk. But the truth is I was scared. I'm always scared. Of losing, of failing, of being wrong. And that fear has cost me everything. Clients, opportunities, respect, my own self-respect. Fear is normal, Michael says. It kept our ancestors alive. But it's a terrible financial advisor. How do you get past it? The fear. Michael considers. You don't. You just learn to act anyway. Every investment I made scared me. Every business I started, I was sure would fail. But I did them anyway because the fear of staying where I was became bigger than the fear of trying something new. Rachel speaks up from across the room. Can I ask you something personal? Sure. Do you ever feel guilty for having so much when so many people have so little? It's a question Michael has asked himself 1,000 times. Every day, he admits. Every single day. That's why I give away what I do. Not to ease the guilt, but to honor the kid I was. The one who knew what it felt like to be hungry, to be cold, to be invisible. I can't save everyone, but I can save some people. And maybe those people will save others. And maybe that's enough. Is it enough? I don't know yet. Ask me in 10 years. Tom stands. I have a confession, too. I'm a dentist, like I said. Good practice, good income. But I hate it. I wanted to be a musician. I played guitar all through high school. I was actually pretty good. But my parents said musicians starve, so I became a dentist like my father. And now I spend every day looking into people's mouths, fixing cavities, and dreaming about the songs I'll never write. So write them. Michael says simply, I can't just quit being a dentist. I didn't say quit. I said write songs. Do both. Success isn't all or nothing. You can have a stable career and a creative passion. They're not mutually exclusive. But I'll never be a professional musician now. I'm too old, too late. Says who? The same society that told me I'd never be anything because I was poor. The same people who decided your worth was determined by your job title. Tom, you're 32. You could live another 50 years. Are you really going to spend all of them doing only what you hate because you missed some arbitrary deadline for doing what you love? Tom sits back down, but Michael can see the wheels turning. Sarah wipes her eyes. What if we're all just mediocre? What if we're not special or talented or destined for anything? What if we're just ordinary people living ordinary lives? Then you're in good company, Michael says, because that's most of humanity, and there's no shame in it. Ordinary lives can be beautiful. Ordinary jobs can be fulfilling. Ordinary relationships can be profound. The problem isn't being ordinary. The problem is being told that ordinary is enough. But you're not ordinary, Sarah points out. You're extraordinary. $100 million. That's extraordinary. The money is extraordinary, Michael agrees. But I'm not. I'm just a guy who got lucky, worked hard, and refused to believe the story other people told about me. Any of you could have done the same thing with different choices and different circumstances. I'm not special. I just had nothing to lose, so I risked everything. Kevin stands and walks to Michael's side. Can I say something? As someone who's known Michael since we were kids, he's lying. He is special. Not because of the money, but because when everyone told him he was worthless, he decided to prove his own worth to himself, not to them. That's rare. That's special. And the rest of us, we could learn from that. Michael feels his throat tighten. It's been a long time since someone defended him, since someone saw past the money to the person underneath. Thanks, Kev. Don't mention it. You bought me lunch for 2 years straight when I couldn't afford it. I think I owe you more than a character reference. Jessica suddenly speaks up, her voice cutting through the emotional fog. I need to say something, too. Michael, I was awful to you. Genuinely, intentionally cruel. And I did it because I was terrified of being you. My family had money, but it was new money. My parents were first-generation immigrants who built a business from nothing. And they were so proud, so determined to be respected, that they taught me and my siblings that poverty was a moral failing. That poor people were poor because they were lazy or stupid or weak. She takes a shaky breath. So when I saw you in your second-hand clothes with your free lunch vouchers, I saw everything my parents had taught me to fear. I saw what would happen if we failed, if we lost the business, if we weren't successful. And I was so scared of being you that I made your life hell to prove I wasn't. And now, Michael asks, now I realize I became exactly what I feared. Not poor, but weak. Too weak to live honestly. Too weak to be kind. Too weak to build something real instead of just performing success. Michael looks at her, at the woman who once asked him if his mother cared about him, who humiliated him in front of everyone just to get a laugh. And he sees not an enemy, but a fellow survivor of impossible expectations. You're not weak, he says. You're human, flawed and scared and trying, just like everyone else. Jessica's carefully maintained composure finally breaks. She starts to cry, really cry. Not the delicate tears of someone who's worried about mascara, but the ugly, cathartic sobs of someone releasing years of pressure. Derek moves to her side, and for the first time all night, they touch with actual tenderness. Not the performative affection of a couple trying to look happy, but the desperate clinging of two people drowning in the same water. Marcus sits down heavily. What do we do now? How do we move forward from this? Honestly, Michael says, I have no idea. This wasn't exactly what I expected when I RSVP'd. What did you expect? Linda asks, I thought I'd come here, see that you all were exactly the same, confirm that I was better off without any of you in my life, and leave with closure. Clean, simple. And instead I found out that hurt people hurt people. That cruelty is usually fear wearing a disguise. That the people I hated are just as trapped as I felt just in different cages. And that's harder to walk away from than I thought it would be. So don't walk away, Kevin says. Or do. But know that if you stay, if you give any of these people a chance to be different, you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. Because forgiveness isn't about letting them off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from carrying them. Michael looks around the room, at Derek and Jessica, clinging to each other in the wreckage of their marriage. At Marcus, staring at his phone like it holds answers it doesn't have. At Sarah, Amy, and Rachel, forming a small circle of women supporting each other through honesty. At Tom, probably imagining the songs he'll write. At Linda, watching everything with the detached interest of someone who understands that all life is theater, and the best performances are the unscripted ones. And he makes a decision. I'm not going to be friends with any of you, he says clearly. I'm not going to pretend that tonight erases the past, or that a few apologies fix years of trauma. But I'm also not going to carry you around in my head anymore. I'm not going to let who you were dictate who I become. So this is goodbye, not in anger, but in release. I release you. I release the past. I release the version of myself that needed your approval or feared your judgment. He turns to Kevin. Accept you. You can call me anytime. Kevin grins. Already planned on it. Michael looks at Derek one more time. Get help. Both of you. Not couples therapy to save a marriage that's already over. Individual therapy to figure out who you are when you're not performing for an audience. You might surprise yourself. Derek nods, unable to speak. Michael walks toward the door and the crowd parts for him. He's about to leave when a voice stops him. Wait. It's Amy. Thank you for being honest, for not pretending, for showing us that there's another way to live. I know you don't want our gratitude, but you have mine anyway. Mine too, Rachel adds. You could have destroyed us tonight. Could have been cruel, mocking, vengeful. Instead, you were honest. That's harder. That's braver. Michael nods, accepting this, and then he walks out of Grand Meridian Hotel into the cool night air. The door closes behind him, muffling the sound of the reunion, the conversations he sparked, the reckonings he's initiated. He stands on the sidewalk, breathing deeply, and realizes something profound. He's free, not because he proved anything, not because he humiliated anyone, but because he finally, completely stopped giving power to people who never deserved it. His phone buzzes. A text from Melissa, the woman he mentioned earlier, the one who knows his past and loves him anyway. How did it go? He types back. Better than expected. Worse than hoped for. But done. Want to talk about it? Tomorrow. Tonight, I just want to be. I love you. I love you too. He pockets his phone, looks up at the stars barely visible through the city's light pollution, and smiles. The boy who cried in that small apartment would be proud of the man standing here now. Not because of the money, not because of the businesses, but because he kept the promise he made all those years ago. He refused to let them win. And in refusing, he won something more important than their defeat. He won himself back. If you made it this far, you've been on a journey. Michael's journey. And maybe in some small way, your own. If this story resonated with you, if it made you think about your own past, your own bullies, your own definition of success, then do me a favor. Subscribe. Hit that button. Share this story. Because somewhere out there is a kid like Michael was, crying in a small apartment, being told they're worthless. And maybe, just maybe, they need to hear that the story doesn't end there. That transformation is possible. That success is the best revenge, not because it hurts your enemies, but because it heals you. Only those who believe some people are meant to stay broken would ignore this message. But you're not one of them. Are you? Michael walks to his car, parked in the lot behind the hotel. It's not a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. It's a Tesla Model S. Comfortable, efficient, expensive, but not ostentatious. The kind of car that whispers wealth rather than screaming it. He sits in the driver's seat, but doesn't start the engine. Instead, he lets himself feel everything that happened tonight. The confrontation, the revelations, the apologies that came too late, but still mattered somehow. His phone rings. It's his mother. Wei, how are you? She asks in Mandarin, her voice warm and concerned. She still calls him Wei, his Chinese name, the one his father used before he left. I'm okay, Ma. Better than okay, actually. You went to the reunion? With those terrible people? Michael had told her about tonight, and she'd been adamantly against it. But she'd also taught him that sometimes you have to face your demons to prove they don't exist anymore. I did. And did they hurt you again? They tried, but Ma, I'm too strong now. They can't hurt me anymore. Not unless I let them. His mother is quiet for a moment. Your father couldn't face his demons. He ran from them his whole life, and they caught him anyway. I'm proud of you for being braver than he was. It's the first time she's ever said anything even remotely positive about the man who abandoned them. Michael feels his eyes sting. I learned from the best, Ma. You never ran. You worked 3 jobs, raised me alone, kept us fed and housed. You showed me what real strength looks like. Don't make me cry. I just finished my makeup. Michael laughs. Makeup? At 10 at night. I'm on a date, if you must know, with a very nice man from my Tai Chi class. Ma, that's great. Tell me about him. Another time. You deal with your drama. I deal with mine. But Wei, I'm proud of you. Not because you're rich. Because you're kind. That's harder. They talk for a few more minutes, and by the time they hang up, Michael feels grounded again, connected to what matters. He's about to start the car when someone knocks on the window. It's Kevin, slightly out of breath from running. Michael rolls down the window. Forget something? Yeah, to ask for your number. I mean, I have your old one, but I don't know if it still works. It does. I kept the same number through everything. Didn't want to lose the connections that mattered. Kevin grins. Good, because Ashley wants to meet you, and I want to grab coffee sometime, if you're up for it. I like that. Also, Kevin hesitates. Derek gave me something to give you. He wrote it in the bathroom after you left. He hands Michael an envelope. Inside is a handwritten note on hotel stationery. Michael, I don't know if you'll ever read this, but I needed to write anyway. You were right about everything. About me, about my life, about why I did what I did. I'm going to get help. Real help. And I'm going to try to become someone I can stand to look at in the mirror. I don't expect your forgiveness. I don't even expect your understanding. But I wanted you to know that tonight changed me. Maybe not in the ways I expected, but in the ways I needed. Thank you for being strong enough to face us. And I'm sorry I never had the strength to be anything but cruel to you. Derek. Michael folds a note carefully and tucks it in his jacket pocket. You think he means it? Kevin asks. Does it matter? He has to mean it for himself, not for me. Fair point. Kevin steps back from the car. Drive safe. And text me, or I'll hunt you down. Deal. Michael finally starts the car and pulls out of the parking lot. As he drives through the city streets, he finds himself taking a long way home, past his old neighborhood, past the apartment complex where he and his mother struggled for so many years. The building looks smaller now, shabbier. The paint is peeling, and several windows are boarded up. It's slated for demolition next year, replaced by luxury condos. Another symptom of the city's gentrification. He parks across the street and looks up at what used to be his window. The light is on. Some other family living there now, fighting their own battles, building their own dreams. Michael pulls out his phone and makes a call. Daniel? It's Michael Chun. Yeah, I know it's late. Listen, I need you to look into something for me. That apartment complex on Riverside and 8th. The one being demolished. I want to buy it. His financial advisor, Daniel, sounds confused. Buy it? Michael, it's scheduled for demo. It's not a good investment. I don't want it as an investment. I want to renovate it. Turn it into affordable housing with support services, job training, financial literacy classes, childcare. A place where families can live while they rebuild their lives. That's going to cost millions. And it won't turn a profit for years, if ever. I don't need it to profit. I need it to matter. Daniel is quiet for a moment. You know what? Okay, I'll make some calls in the morning. Thanks, Daniel. And one more thing. I want to set up a scholarship fund for kids from underprivileged backgrounds who want to go to college. Full ride. Room, board, books, everything. Start with 10 students a year. That's going to be expensive. I have expensive money. Daniel laughs. You're a good man, Michael Chun. I'm just a man who remembers what it's like to be hungry, and who has the power to make sure fewer people have to feel that way. They talk logistics for a few more minutes, and by the time Michael hangs up, he feels lighter. Money, he's learned, is only meaningful when it's used for something meaningful. He drives to his penthouse, the one he didn't mention to his former classmates. It's in one of the city's most exclusive buildings, with a doorman who greets him by name and an elevator that requires a key for the top floor. His apartment is minimalist and modern. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the city. Expensive art on the walls, chosen not for status, but because it moves him. A kitchen he actually cooks in because his mother taught him that ordering takeout every night is wasteful. He pours himself a glass of water and stands at the window, looking out at the sprawling lights below. Somewhere in those lights is a hotel where his classmates are still processing the evening. Somewhere is Derek, hopefully starting the hard work of becoming someone better. Somewhere is his mother, on a date, finally allowing herself happiness after years of sacrifice. And here, in this expensive apartment that teenager Michael could never have imagined, stands a man that boy became. His phone buzzes again. Another text from Melissa. I'm here if you need me, but I'm also here if you need space. Just want you to know I'm thinking about you. Michael smiles. Melissa is the kind of woman who understands that sometimes presence means giving someone room to breathe. She's a lawyer for a nonprofit, fighting for tenants' rights, and she has no interest in his money beyond supporting philanthropy. She loves him for his scars, not despite them, because she has her own scars and knows that the people who survive something difficult are the ones worth knowing. He texts back, come over? I want to tell you about tonight. Be there in 20. Michael takes a shower, changing out of his Tom Ford suit into comfortable sweatpants and a t-shirt. The man in the mirror looks tired but peaceful, older than his years in some ways, younger in others. When Melissa arrives, she doesn't immediately ask questions. She just holds him, and they stand in the middle of his too big living room. Two people who've learned that intimacy isn't about sharing your best moments. It's about sharing your worst ones and still choosing each other. So, she says finally, was it as bad as you thought? Worse, Michael admits, but also better. I don't know how to explain it. Try. So he does. He tells her about Derek's public breakdown, Jessica's tears, Marcus's fear, Sarah's mediocrity crisis. He tells her about his own revelations, about realizing that he's been carrying these people around for years when they barely thought about him at all. And now, Melissa asks, how do you feel? Free, Michael says, and sad, and relieved, and guilty. Guilty for having so much when they have so little, for being happy when they're not, for winning when they lost. Melissa pulls back to look at him. Michael, you didn't win. There was no competition. There was just a bunch of people living their lives and making their choices. You made different choices. You got different results. That's not winning. That's just living. Linda said something similar. Linda's smart. Listen to Linda. Melissa leads him to the couch. But also listen to me. You are allowed to be successful without feeling guilty. You are allowed to be happy without worrying about other people's happiness. You are allowed to heal without waiting for your abusers to be okay with it. I know. Intellectually, I know. But emotionally, you're still the kid who feels like he doesn't deserve good things. Who feels like success is borrowed, not earned. Who's waiting for someone to tell him it was all a mistake. Michael nods. She's right. She's always right about these things. What did your therapist say when you told her you were going to reunion? She said it was either going to be the best thing I ever did or the worst. Turns out it was both. They sit in comfortable silence for a while. Outside, the city continues its endless motion. Inside, two people rest in the peace they built together. I'm going to buy my old apartment building, Michael says suddenly. Turn it into affordable housing. That's a terrible investment. That's what Daniel said. But it's a beautiful gesture. Melissa smiles. This is why I love you. You make impractical, idealistic decisions because you still remember what it's like to need them. Is that weird? Being wealthy and still feeling poor. It's honest. And honesty is rare in people with money. Michael's phone buzzes one more time. It's a text from an unknown number. Michael, this is Rachel. I got your number from Kevin. Hope that's okay. I just want to say thank you again. And to let you know that I quit my job tonight. Or I will first thing Monday morning. I'm going to figure out what I actually want to do instead of what my father wants me to do. It's terrifying. But you were right. Sunk cost is just another prison. So thank you for helping me see the bars. Rachel. He shows Melissa the text. You changed your life tonight, Melissa observes. I didn't mean to. The best changes are usually accidental. Michael thinks about that, about how his decision to attend the reunion, made half out of curiosity and half out of unresolved pain, ended up becoming a catalyst for multiple people to examine their lives. He didn't plan that, didn't want that responsibility, but it happened anyway. Do you think I should respond? He asks Melissa. Do you want to? Michael considers. Rachel was never particularly cruel to him. She was complicit through silence, but she also apologized genuinely. And now she's making a difficult choice because of something he said. He types, "Rachel, I'm glad I could help. But remember, I didn't give you permission to change. I just showed you that change was possible. You're the one doing the hard work. Be proud of that. And good luck. Michael." Perfect. Melissa says, reading over his shoulder, supported without taking responsibility for her choices. "I've learned boundaries the hard way. The best way to learn them." They talk late into the night, until Melissa falls asleep on his couch and Michael covers her with a blanket. He stands at the window again, looking out at the city, and thinks about the strange circularity of life. He came from nothing, built something, and now he's using that something to help others come from nothing. It's not revenge. It's not even justice. It's just, right, the only way he knows how to honor the struggle that made him. The next morning, Michael wakes to find Melissa making coffee in his kitchen. She's wearing one of his shirts and humming something off-key. "Morning," she says. "I made breakfast. Well, I made toast. Close enough." They eat together, and Melissa tells him about a case she's working on. A family being evicted from their apartment by a landlord who wants to flip the building into condos. It's a story Michael knows intimately from the other side. The side that was almost evicted. The side that understands what it means to lose the only home you have. "I could help," he offers. "Financially, I mean. If they need it." "They do," Melissa says. "But they also need legal representation, which is what I'm providing. You can't solve everything with money, Michael." "I know, but I can solve some things. Just make sure you're solving because you want to, not because you feel obligated. There's a difference." After Melissa leaves for work, Michael sits at his computer and reads through emails, business updates, investment reports, the usual flood of information that comes with managing wealth. But one email stands out. It's from Kevin. "Hey man, I told Ashley about last night. She wants to have you over for dinner. No pressure, no agenda, just food and friendship. Let me know if you're interested. Kevin." Michael stares at the email for a long time. He's kept his circle small since high school, intentionally limiting who gets close enough to hurt him. But Kevin was different. Kevin was there in the trenches, fighting his own battles. Kevin understands. He types back, "I'd love that. Tell me when." 3 days later, Michael finds himself in a modest house in the suburbs, sitting across from Kevin and his wife Ashley at a dining room table covered in homemade Korean food. Ashley is warm and funny, a software engineer who speaks 3 languages and makes terrible puns. She and Kevin clearly adore each other in the easy, comfortable way of people who've chosen each other every day and plan to keep choosing. "So you're the famous Michael," Ashley says, passing a platable gogi. "Kevin's told me so much about you, about high school, about how you survived it together." "More like barely survived," Michael says with a slight smile. "Kevin said you revealed at the reunion that you're worth over $100 million. Ashley continues, and there's no judgment in her voice, just curiosity. "That's incredible. But he also said the most impressive thing about you wasn't the money. It was how you handle people who tried to tear you down again." Michael glances at Kevin, who shrugs. "I tell my wife everything. It's one of the rules." "Good rule," Michael says. "And thank you, though I'm not sure I handled it well. I think I just survived it." "That's the same thing," Ashley observes. "Survival is a skill, an important one." They eat and talk, and Michael finds himself relaxing in a way he rarely does around new people. There's no agenda here. No one trying to pitch him investment opportunities, or ask for donations, or network their way into his life. Just 3 people sharing a meal and honest conversation. "Can I ask you something personal?" Ashley says as they're clearing dishes. "Sure. Do you ever regret it?" "Getting rich. I mean, Kevin told me about your philanthropy, about the housing project you're starting. But does the money ever feel like a burden?" Michael considers the question carefully. Sometimes, money amplifies who you are. If you're generous, you can be more generous. If you're insecure, you become more insecure. If you're kind, you can spread more kindness. But it also isolates you. People see the wealth before they see the person. They want something from you, even if it's just proximity to success. "That sounds lonely," Ashley says softly. "It can be. That's why moments like this matter. Being around people who knew me before, who see past the numbers to the person underneath." Kevin refills their wine glasses. "Speaking of people from before, I heard Derek checked himself into a treatment program. Residential therapy, like a month-long intensive thing. Michael's eyebrows raise. Really? Yeah. Jessica posted about it on social media. Very vulnerable, very raw. Talked about how they're separating while they both work on themselves. A lot of our classmates are apparently following suit. Marcus started seeing a therapist. Sarah enrolled in a career counseling program. Tom bought a guitar and has been posting videos of himself playing. It's like you triggered some kind of mass awakening. That wasn't my intention, Michael says quietly. The best catalysts never intend to be, Ashley points out. You just showed up authentically, and it gave other people permission to be authentic too. They move to the living room, where Kevin's cat immediately claims Michael's lap. They talk about everything and nothing, books and movies, and the absurdity of modern life. Michael tells him about Melissa, about how she's the first person who's made him think about a future that includes more than just work and philanthropy. Bring her next time, Ashley insists. I want to meet the woman who captured the heart of the mystery millionaire. She'd love that, Michael says, though she'd probably argue with your characterization. She'd say, I captured her heart, not the other way around. Sounds like a keeper, Kevin observes. As the evening winds down and Michael prepares to leave, Kevin walks him to his car. Thanks for coming, Kevin says. I know it's not easy for you, letting people in. It's getting easier, Michael admits. Slowly. Therapy helps. So does having friends who knew me when I was nobody. You were never nobody, man. You were always somebody. Some people just couldn't see it. Michael gets in his car, and as he drives home to the quiet suburban streets, he thinks about that, about identity and perception, and the difference between who we are and who people decide we are. His phone rings. It's Daniel, his financial advisor. Michael, I've got news about the apartment complex. The owner is willing to sell, but he's asking $12 million. Is it worth $12 million? Ez's? No. After renovation for your affordable housing project? Even less, financially speaking. But as a legacy project, as something meaningful? That's not for me to evaluate. Buy it, Michael says. And Daniel? I want to set up a foundation. Something permanent. For housing, education. Support services for people trying to escape poverty. I want it to outlive me. That's a big step. Foundations require significant capital and ongoing management. I have significant capital, and I'll hire people to manage it. People who understand poverty because they've lived it. People who will treat recipients with dignity, not charity. You're really doing this. I really am. They spend the next 20 minutes discussing logistics, and by the time Michael pulls into his building's garage, he feels a sense of purpose that wealth alone never gave him. The next few weeks pass in a blur of meetings and planning. Michael throws himself into the foundation work, assembling a team of people who share his vision. He meets with architects about the apartment renovation, with social workers about support services, with educators about the scholarship program. And through it all, Melissa is there, not running the projects, but supporting him, asking hard questions, making sure his idealism doesn't blind him to practical realities, reminding him to eat and sleep and take care of himself. One evening, about a month after the reunion, they're having dinner at a small restaurant when Michael's phone buzzes. It's a text from Derek. Michael, I'm not sure if you want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know I've completed my first month of therapy. It's been the hardest thing I've ever done. Harder than any job, any accomplishment. Looking at yourself honestly, accepting what you see, is brutal, but necessary. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness or friendship, just to say thank you for being the mirror that forced me to look. Derek. Michael shows Melissa the text. Are you going to respond? She asks. Should I? That's not my question to answer. Michael thinks about it. About Derek. Sitting somewhere in a therapy office, doing the hard work of becoming someone better. About the cruelty of high school and the possibility of redemption. About whether some wounds heal and others just stop bleeding. He types. Derek, I'm glad you're getting help. It takes courage to face yourself. I hope you find peace. Michael. Short, simple, true. That was kind, Melissa observes. Kindness doesn't cost me anything anymore, Michael says. I used to think it did. That being kind to people who hurt me meant they won. But they didn't win. Nobody won. We all just struggled through the same years in different ways. And now we're trying to make sense of it. 3 months after the reunion, Michael stands in front of the apartment complex where he grew up. It's gutted now, down to the studs, being rebuilt from the inside out. Architects and contractors swarm the site, and Michael reviews blueprints with the project manager. This unit here, Michael points, third floor, facing east. That was mine. I want it to be a little bigger than the others. And I want a plaque. Nothing ostentatious. Just something that says, "From small beginnings come great things." The project manager nods. Consider it done. Kevin shows up with coffee, having taken a day off to join Michael for this moment. "You're really doing it," Kevin says, looking up at the building. "Turning your pain into someone else's hope." "Trying to," Michael corrects. "There's no guarantee this works. No guarantee that the families who live here will succeed any more than I did. But you're giving them a chance. That's more than we had. We had your mom," Michael reminds him. "She used to send me home with leftovers every time I came over. Pretended she'd cooked too much. But we both knew the truth. Mom always saw you," Kevin says. "She told me once that you had a fire in your belly. Said you'd either burn out or burn bright. And she was betting on bright. Tell her she was right. And tell her thank you. Tell her yourself. She wants to meet the famous Michael Chun, the one who made good." 6 months after the reunion, the apartment complex reopens as Hope House, a mixed-income development with affordable units and wraparound support services. The grand opening is covered by local news, and Michael gives an interview standing in front of what used to be his childhood window. "This building represents possibility," he tells a reporter. "It represents the idea that where you start doesn't determine where you finish. That poverty isn't a moral failing, it's a circumstance. And that with the right support, anyone can build a better life." "You're proof of that," the reporter says. "I'm proof that it's possible," Michael corrects. "Not that it's easy or guaranteed. I got lucky in a lot of ways. But I also worked hard and made choices. Both things can be true." Among the crowd watching the interview is a familiar face. Rachel, his former classmate. She approaches after the cameras stop rolling. "Michael, hi. I hope it's okay that I'm here." "Of course. How are you?" "I'm good. Really good, actually. I quit my law firm, like I said I would. Started doing pro bono work for a tenants' rights organization. The pay is terrible, but I wake up excited to go to work for the first time in years." "That's incredible, Rachel. It's because of you. Because you showed me that success isn't about impressing other people. It's about being proud of yourself. I didn't show you that. You learned it yourself. I just happened to be there when you did." Rachel smiles, still humble. Some things never change. Some things do, though, and that's okay, too. At the 1-year mark after the reunion, Michael receives an unexpected letter. It's from Jessica, handwritten on expensive stationery. "Dear Michael, I'm writing because I owe you an apology that's not performative or self-serving. I've spent the past year in therapy, examining why I was so cruel to you in high school, and I've come to understand that I was projecting my own fears onto you. I was terrified of poverty, of failure, of being seen as less than, and you represented all of that. So I tried to destroy you to prove to myself that I wasn't you, that I'd never be you. But in destroying you, I destroyed parts of myself. The kind parts, the honest parts, the parts that might have made me someone worth knowing. Derek and I are divorced now. It was inevitable. We were never really married, just performing marriage for an audience that didn't care. I'm working now, for the first time in my adult life. I'm a receptionist at a veterinary clinic. It's humbling and honest work, and I'm learning to find my worth in what I do, not who I'm married to. I don't expect your forgiveness. I don't expect a response. I just wanted you to know that I see, now, what I couldn't see then. You were never the loser. You were just the only one honest enough to show your struggle. The rest of us hid ours behind cruelty and performance. And that, I've learned, takes no courage at all. I hope you're well. I hope you're happy. And I hope that somewhere in your success, you found peace with the past. Sincerely, Jessica." Michael reads the letter 3 times, then shows it to Melissa over breakfast. "Are you going to respond?" she asks. "I don't know. Part of me wants to. Part of me thinks the closure she needs isn't something I can give her. Both can be true." Michael eventually writes back a short note. "Jessica, thank you for your honesty. I hope you find the peace you're looking for. Not for me, but for yourself. Michael." 2 years after the reunion, Michael is 34 years old. His foundation has expanded to 3 cities. Hope House is at full capacity with a waiting list of families desperate for a chance. His scholarship program has sent 50 students to college. His businesses continue to grow, though he's taken a step back from day-to-day management to focus on philanthropy. He and Melissa are engaged. The proposal was simple and private. Just the two of them hiking the mountains. No grand gesture or audience. Just two people who've learned that love isn't about performance. It's about showing up honestly, day after day. Kevin and Ashley have a baby now, a daughter they've named Hope. Kevin jokes that it's not named after Michael's building, but everyone knows it is. And Derek, according to mutual acquaintances, is doing well. He's working for a smaller company in a less prestigious position, but he's reportedly happier. He's dating someone new, someone who knew nothing of his high school glory days. He's learning, slowly, to define success by internal metrics rather than external validation. Michael hears these updates and feels something like relief, not because he's forgiven everyone, not because the past doesn't matter, but because people are capable of change. Not always, not easily, but sometimes. And sometimes is enough. On the second anniversary of the reunion, Michael finds himself back at the Grand Meridian Hotel. Not for another reunion, but for a charity gala his foundation is hosting. The irony isn't lost on him, being back in the same ballroom where everything changed. Linda, the theater woman from his class, is there. She's volunteered to help with event planning. Full circle, she observes, standing beside him as donors and supporters fill the room. In a way, Michael agrees, though I prefer to think of it as a spiral. We're in a similar place, but at a different elevation. That's poetic. I like it. I've had time to think about it. The gala is a success. They raise over $2 million for the foundation. Speeches are given. Thanks are offered. And Michael stands at the microphone and tells a version of his story. The sanitized version. The one that focuses on resilience and transformation without dwelling too much on the cruelty that necessitated both. But afterward, when the crowd has thinned and he's standing alone in the now empty ballroom, he lets himself remember the truth, the full, unsanitized truth, the milk in his backpack, the fake prom invitation, the lunch table laughter, the years of feeling worthless. And he thinks about what that boy would say to him now. He'd probably cry. From relief, from gratitude, from the sheer overwhelming weight of knowing it gets better. He'd probably ask questions. How did you do it? When does it stop hurting? Am I going to be okay? And Michael, standing in his tailored suit in a ballroom that no longer has power over him, would kneel down to that boy's level and say, "You're going to be more than okay? You're going to be free. Not because you'll get rich, though that will happen. Not because they'll apologize, though some of them will. But because you'll learn that their opinions never defined you. You were always worthy. You just couldn't see it yet. But you will. I promise you will." Melissa finds him standing there, lost in thought. "You okay?" she asks. "Yeah, just saying goodbye." To what? To the version of myself that needed this place to validate him, that needed those people to apologize, that needed success to prove worth. And now I know my worth isn't up for debate. It never was. I just had to learn to see it. They leave the hotel hand in hand, walking out into a warm summer night. The city spreads before them, full of lights and possibilities, and people fighting their own battles, building their own dreams. Michael's phone buzzes one last time. A text from Kevin. Hope's first word was I'm counting it as dad. Ashley says I'm delusional. Anyway, wanted you to know. You're her godfather, so you should be informed of these developments. Michael laughs, showing Melissa the text. We're going to have a good life. She says, it's not a question. We already do, Michael responds. Everything else is just bonus. And it's true. The money, the success, the philanthropy, the recognition, it's all meaningful. But the real victory, the one that matters most, is the peace he's found with himself. The knowledge that he's enough, that he always was, that the story those classmates tried to write about him was fiction, and he spent the past years writing a better truth. The boy who cried in a small apartment kept his promise. He didn't let them win. And in refusing to let them define him, he found freedom, not the freedom that money buys, though he has that too, but the deeper freedom that comes from knowing completely and unshakably that your worth is inherent, that you don't have to prove it, earn it, or defend it, that you can just be. And being, Michael has learned, is the greatest success of all. So here's my final question for you, the one who's been on this entire journey with Michael. What story are you telling yourself about who you are? Is it a story someone else wrote? A narrative built on their judgment, their cruelty, their narrow definitions of success? Or is it your story, written by you, based on your truth? Because here's what Michael's journey teaches us. The people who try to make you feel small are usually drowning in their own inadequacy. The bullies are afraid. The cruel are insecure. The mockers are terrified that someone will see through their performance to the emptiness underneath. And you, the person they target, you're not worthless. You're just threatening. Your authenticity, your struggle, your refusal to pretend everything is fine when it's not, that scares them. Because deep down, they know they're pretending. And you're proof that pretending isn't necessary. So if you're the kid in the small apartment right now, cry because someone told you you'll never be anything, hear this. They're wrong. So completely, catastrophically wrong. Your beginning doesn't determine your ending. Your current chapter doesn't predict your final one. You get to write your story. All of it. And if you're the person who did the bullying, who said the cruel words, who laughed at someone's pain, it's not too late to change, to apologize, to become someone better. Derek did. Jessica did. They're not forgiven by Michael necessarily, but they're forgiven by themselves. And sometimes that's harder. Sometimes that's more important. The point is, transformation is possible for everyone. The victims can become victors. The bullies can become better. And the story can always be rewritten. If the story meant something to you, if it made you think or feel or remember, then do something about it. Subscribe to this channel. Share this story. Comment about your own journey. Because stories like this matter. They remind us that we're not alone in our struggles. That others have walked this path and survived. That survival is possible. That success is achievable. That healing is real. And most importantly, they remind us that the people who laugh at you today might be crying tomorrow, not because you destroyed them, but because you showed them what's possible when you refuse to accept their narrative about who you are. Michael Chun went from class loser to 100 millionaire, but the real transformation wasn't financial. It was internal. He went from believing he was worthless to knowing he was priceless, from seeking validation to being his own validation, from needing their approval to not needing anyone's approval but his own. And that transformation, that journey from broken to whole, from victim to victor, from defined by others to self-defined, that available to all of us, every single one of us. We just have to choose it, day after day after day. So choose it. Choose yourself. Choose your truth. Choose your worth. And watch what happens when you do. Because I promise you, the ending is worth the struggle. Every single time.